I would like, if I may, to take you on a strange journey.
Open your mind real wide now.
I'm freaking out, man. You are freaking out, man.
Welcome aboard the Mothership Radio Show. I'm Kevin Gassman, your host, hanging out with you for the next hour or so of our interview with Dr. Delbert Blair. Now, if you don't know who Dr. Delbert Blair is, well, you're going to know. He was part of the Metaphysics Center in Chicago, and he was traveling the country doing seminars, making people aware of metaphysics. So I don't know how I got into this conversation. This is in 2009. I found it on my computer, and I totally forgot about it. And I was thinking back, like, how did I get hooked up with this interview? And I think the group that he was with, contacted the radio station, and in turn, the radio station contacted me to see if I'd be interested in doing the interview. Now, I have already done a few different interviews prior to this. I've done an interview with born-again Christians. I've done an interview with the guys who made the movie Loose Change 9/11. And yes, I have that tape. So if you want to hear that interview, hit me up some messages, and if I get enough, I'll air it. So I was always open to having a different conversation on the radio, even though it was an alternative station in Phoenix, Arizona. We played mostly independent and local music, as well as your big hits as well. And I was a little bit of mixture of all that. I was on in the afternoons, I believe 5 to 8 p.m. And this is a Friday afternoon. I know this because I listened to the tape and I know what day it was. So I invited him into my house. Now, it wasn't my house anymore. I had just moved from my house, and I moved in with a roommate in his apartment. So it was set up in his kitchen table. And if you listen closely, you can hear my roommate make his dinner. So it was kind of a cozy environment, if you will. So I didn't know who he was. I didn't know who he was at the time, not until I looked back on his history. And I did find out that he passed away on January 31st, 2016. So I'm very fortunate to have him on tape and recorded his message. And now I'm able to share that with you on the Mothership Radio Show. So keep in mind that this was in 2009. I was a radio DJ on a rock station, so my energy's a little different. And going back and listening to myself, it's like, ugh, I can't believe I sounded like that. But, you know, it is what it is, and it's not about me. It's about the message Dr. Blair has, and it still resonates to today. And that's what's crazy about it. Listening to it a couple times, I'm like, wow, this thing could have been aired yesterday live, and there'd be no difference at all, except for the fact that we start this conversation off talking about 2012, almost 3 years away from when this interview took place. His knowledge is still relevant to today. Take a listen and enjoy Dr. Delbert Blair on the Mothership Radio Show.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
What if I told you I'd take you to a place you'd never been and do something to you that's never been done?
Today, we're going to talk a little bit about 2012 and the Mayan prophecies and everything that's kind of going along with that. Of course, there's a big hype about that, and you know, the movie's coming out here, and we're getting a little closer. We're reaching that 3-year countdown mark here in a couple of weeks. And in order to talk about that, we're going to get to hear from Dr. Delbert Blair. He is the director of Meta Center in Chicago, with the branches out in Oakland and also at the University of Chicago. And Dr. Blair, thank you for coming in.
Well, driving with gas is what I want to do, Kevin. It's my pleasure. So
Right
there
on.
you go.
Right on. Now, and well, let's just get right into it. We're going to talk about a bunch of other things as well. We're going to talk about the what you have the diodes. The diodes.
Yeah.
Talk about those, and there's a lot of things I know you know, and I want to get into it. But the 2012 stuff we're talking about with the movie out here, the hype is getting big. Is there anything we need to worry about? Just flat and simple.
Well, if you see that movie, everybody's worried about everything because there's nothing but catastrophes that are going in that movie. I think it's a little bit different. Even though the movie purveys a end of everything, tsunamis, earthquakes, volcano eruptions, I kind of think it's going to be different from that. And with the long count calendar, they're saying that by 2012, December 21st, on that solstice, is when everything is going to go kaput. I kind of think if we can get there, we're going to be safe. Now, that's a whole different view from those who saw the movie,
right,
but they have to come out to some of my presentations. I say that because it's based on what is called the Mayan calendar. Now, the big controversy is that the Mayans at one time were very agronomous. They sacrificed, and they had at the same time all of this propensity for science, to be able to study distant galaxies, to understand the orbits of the stars. I kind of think that they had to have been taught that. And this is where we start getting into the culture of the Olmecs, where we start understanding that there are 5 different other religious groups that are saying the same thing outside of the Mayans. I mean, they call it Mayans, but at the same time they say it's the Mayan calendar.
Now, I'm sorry to interrupt, but are these people, are they learning this from the Mayans? Or is this their own creation, their own ideas, and then all of a sudden, oh, wow, they think that the Mayans think the same thing we do? What a coincidence. Is it like that, or?
Well, if it's a coincidence, then you have a lot of people around the earth. You know, you had the Dogon people who've talked about that too. You had in Angkor Wat in Cambodia the same people that are talking about the end of the world, but not the end of the world, the beginning of a new consciousness.
Right.
So it's like, if you even notice now, time seems to be just speeding by. You wake up, you're asleep. You sleep, you wake up, and things seem to be speeding up. It's as though our planet itself is vibrating faster. Consciousnesses is coming about. People are beginning to understand things and ask questions that they never did before. So although it's saying that that's the end of the world, I think it's the beginning. Actually, my synopsis on all of this, after reading these various other things, is that our planet is going from a 3rd dimension to the 5th dimension. And we're probably entering into the 4th dimension. I'm saying that because people are seeing shadow people. Folks are beginning to have premonitions about things happening. Animals are beginning to act a little bit. You've got animals here again. Yeah. Notice how quickly they're becoming. The children are being born are called crystals now. They're born with eyes erect. Neck erect, eyes open. They're able to learn languages by the time they're 2.
What's that mean, the 4th dimension, and seeing these things and being aware of these things?
Okay. The 3rd dimension is where our planet is now. Okay? And we understand the mundane things that are being taught. Many of the things that I learned in physical science are now being challenged again. No 2 things can occupy the same space at the same time. A body once set in motion stays in motion. Now we're saying that many things might occupy the same time based on the rate of vibration. And if that's the case, our planet Earth, which is on now a 3rd dimensional vibration, is quickening. See what I'm saying? So if it quickens, then everything there operates faster. So I think we're either going to be entering into a time where we open up our consciousness again, that the things that we thought couldn't be done, how do they build the pyramids, and there's arguments about it again. How do they have supposed to be levitation devices? The Bhagavad Gita talks about ventlers and vimanas. People are saying they see UFOs, saying they're not. So everything controversial is being aired. Once you start airing something, now it's no longer clandestine. Now you're no longer able to hide, and it's making people think. I think it's a time of awakening. I think if we can get through to that date, we'll probably be better off with the wars and rumors of wars and things like this. So this my idea is that it's going to be an awakening rather than a catastrophe. The catastrophes now, I think, are all about us. Earthquakes and tsunamis and hurricanes. Well, it's already happening.
I don't think a movie about awakenings would be as much of a seller as the destruction of the Earth.
There you go.
But Victoria, you saw the movie.
I did. I saw it a few days ago, and the graphics were great. I thought it was too long, but it didn't make a lot of sense because it's like, to me, I think that if there is a catastrophe in 2012, it'll be caused by us, not because the Mayan calendar ran out. And the movie didn't scare me; it made me cry. And that's because of all the destruction, and it reminded me of 9/11.
It had a touching scene there, of course, at the end. People are going to help other people rather than sacrifice people, yet we're fighting wars every day. So when is that really going to happen about? Or is it that things are beginning to progress toward that end?
Well, and I got a question, too, on that. And we got Dr. Delbert Blair here, and we're talking 2012, and you are a scholar on the subject and a bunch of other things we'll get into in a few minutes. But with the predictions of the 2012, or at least people think it is, are people, you think, want to facilitate this and make it happen? It's almost like, well, the Bible says this and the Mayan calendar says this. So if somebody some madman out there with some crazy ideas and some crazy bombs could start doing something weird and try to facilitate, try to get it going, I guess you can say. I mean, that's a fear too, isn't it?
Thoughts are things. And as a man thinketh, so shall he be. Mm-hmm. Same thing again. If people are holding thoughts of negativity, if they're doing things that are not right and they know it and they continue to do it, you're going to get back what you put in. And consequently, we've got wars going on. We're getting out of Iraq, now going into Afghanistan. But they know why they're going into Afghanistan. Right. At the same time, people got adjustable rate mortgages. People are getting thrown out of homes. It's the same thing again, but we can spend money on war. If you begin to concentrate on the negative, to me, you pull the negative. If you try to exude energy into the positive, you get positive. Right. And I think it's a time where consciousness will be immediately rectified. What you think, you get back. And I think, again, if we see movies like that, then we're looking for a catastrophe.
Right.
We're looking for a few people being saved, everyone else being sacrificed.
Right.
To me, if we look at maybe like we can find some peace, if we can find some modulating means, it's much better than seeing a movie like that. And when you get that graphic, like she said, there's nothing to imagination. This is what's going to happen. I don't think it's going to be that way.
Yeah, and I'm wondering too if with the collective consciousness of the world we live in now, you got the economy is to pot, and you got the wars, like you said, there's famine, there's just a bunch of stuff that's going bad in this world, that everyone is just thinking so negatively that that kind of has to vibrate through the earth. I mean, because we are part of Earth. I mean, I believe in that, and I believe in that our energy is all one. With the universe and all that stuff. I know my son hokied a few people out there, but no, we all are tied into that. And I'm just wondering if the negativity is so strong, at least in our country. Do you think that affects anything as far as a natural disaster goes? Like Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters 2. Remember Ghostbusters 2?
Oh, when they thought about the something.
Yeah, they had the negative thoughts would have made the ooze bubble up, and bring out the ghost. I mean, I'm just curious.
This is why I'm holding workshops. And we also had a movie today. We had a movie series of things like one movie is called Psychiatry, the Industry of Death. It looks at the whole thing of psychiatry. There's another one out there with Dr. Deagle showing again that the swine flu may not be what they say it is again. What is, if you constantly hear negatives, then you're going to get back what you're hearing. You're going to exhibit and exude what you're taught. But I think if we can begin to get, not just being a pacifist, but get into the things that are more easily understood. Let's get some harmony going here again. Let's look at the history of some of these countries we're fighting. Let's see what we can do to avert that. So this is why I say I do the research into metaphysics, and that's simply because meta means above and physics means science. It's another way of looking at things from a higher perspective. Not doom and gloom necessary, but doom and gloom if you continue to do what you're going to do. Right. By telling you this is what's happening, why then work toward it? This shows you what can happen. Do something to avert it. To me, it's for those who awaken in the spiritual, not for those who are just so concentrated on evil that they're going to let happen what's going to happen. I think enough thought away from it, we can begin to see what may happen. Let's get away. May ends. May us get away from that. Right.
Okay. Well, we're going to have Dr. Blair hanging out with us for a few. We're going to get more involved in this conversation, and I got a few questions. I got some on the internet. People emailed me too. Let's play a tune. We'll come back, and we will discuss more about 2012 and everything else that's creeping people out these days. You're driving with gas. We'll be back after this. All right, that's my first segment with Dr. Blair. As you can probably sense, the energy I have is a little hyper. I'm excited. It's different type of conversation for me, but I'm digging it. And it only gets a little bit more stranger as we continue on. And now, if you're listening to the background, there was some noise in the background. You can hear my roommate making his dinner. So if you heard some weird sounds in the background, that's what that was. Yeah, we're in the middle of the kitchen, set up on the kitchen table, talking about what you just heard, and the next segment is going to be about the Mayans and a second sun. Are you familiar with this? There's a theory that there are two suns, and the reason why there are chemtrails is so it blocks out the second sun. Well, Dr. Delbert Blair is going to tell you more about that as we continue on here on Driving with Gas. You're driving with gas right here. We have Victoria. She's hanging out, riding shotgun, and our special guest today is in town this weekend for a special seminar. Is it a seminar or what would you call it? It's a workshop, he said, right?
Lecture, and movie fest.
And movie fest.
According to what time they come out.
And his name is Dr. Delbert Blair. He is the director of the Meta Center in Chicago, which got branches out there in Oak Lawn and the University of Chicago. And you're in town courtesy of the Merkaba Nation. And there's a couple phone numbers you can call, and you can get hooked up with these guys for this weekend to learn more about what we're talking about, which is the 2012 phenomenon, and of course other things that you're getting involved with, which we'll get into, like the diodes and the UFOs too. We're going to talk about those too. I can't wait too. You can call 602. Iman is his name. Call him up, and then you can hook up a way to go and check out the workshop. And there's another number that you can want to throw out there.
Nye Gray is 602. It's at an undisclosed location, so call us.
I like that. Sounds like so underground.
That's right. Things have been compromised before, so right now it's in an undisclosed location, and come out and learn new techniques of meditation and how to prepare.
Okay, so and how to prepare for just life in general, or
prepare for the future.
How to prepare for the future.
And learn a lot of things you never knew you didn't know.
Right. I've already learned more than I should have known today, but it's great. I'm always down for learning a lot about, especially stuff like this. You can also check out their email, and they'll hook you up with where the undisclosed place will be. So can't tell you now on the radio. Dr. Delbert Blair, we're talking 2012, and we're going to get into the other stuff a little bit later on. But I had a friend of mine on Facebook actually send me a question, and I want to read it to you, and I want to see what your thoughts are on this.
Here we go.
This is kind of interesting. She said that she read the book Apocalypse 2012 by Lawrence Joseph. I don't know if you're familiar with that guy. And he... basically, she wants to know, I guess in the book, solar maximum peaks in 2012, just as the Earth is the closest to the sun, and along that, with so many other strange variables that line up are incredible. She wants to know if that can really happen.
Well, if that can happen, then what I think already has happened is even better. Since about 2004, maybe the middle of 2004, between 4 and 5, we adopted a second sun. I haven't heard any astronomer, meteorologist, or so astrophysicist say anything about the second sun that Earth now has. What people have found out now that there is when it sets in the west, or again, it used to set in the west, it used to rise in the east. It is now so strong that the chemtrails, see, we're going to open up a lot of worms here now.
I know chemtrails. I know chemtrails.
That are blocking all of this. It makes it hard to see. But they know we are now a binary star-sun system. To me, that should be headlines rather than, again, what did the guy who plays golf do? I'm not even going to mention the name. To me, things that should be talked about aren't. This is why we're having these seminars and workshops now. It is actually, we have pictures of the double sun.
Well, it's the smoke and mirrors of what's going on. Well, but they don't want you to see this and that. But you're saying the chemtrails that are in the air, the planes that leave those, what you might think are the water vapors or whatever it is. No, it's chemicals. But you're saying it's blocking out the second sun?
Yeah, you can't see it as well. In fact, you can't see too much of anything anymore because of the haze that is put up there again. Right. They call a contrail is something that goes over the fuselage of a ship, iced up particles, and 12 feet behind it leaves a trail. These things go from horizon to horizon. Right. They spread out. You can't see anything. People all over the earth are finding that their whole earth. They talk about global warming. Just that canopy that's been putting up there now for the last 15 years is enough to cause global warming. So I'm just simply saying, once you begin to break things down to what actually is happening, you can see that there's something wrong here. Things are being blocked out, things are being not talked about. This is why we see we got a clandestine area, and only because we don't want to get a lot of people in there that don't have open minds, because we hear enough of that outside of programs like yourself. So I'm simply saying again, we have a double sun. The sun obviously is going to affect everything. It affects our planet. It's affecting people. People's consciousness is getting more serene, but people are also now worried because we got these wars and rumors of wars. Here comes 2012. We don't know what it's going to bring, but what the first thing you see in a movie, in Apocalypse Now and all this stuff, 2012, catastrophe. And this is the trouble. We're not seeing what's really happening, but everything that's being interpreted is all negative. And I say it's time to hear some positive side. Let's weigh both sides, come and debate it, but see what's going on.
So what do you think would take that turn? What do you think would make people start thinking positive about this and not saying like, well, it's the end of the calendar. Gee, they haven't really seen anything past the 22nd of December. So obviously nothing's going to go on and we're all going to die. I mean, as opposed to looking at it as well, this is a new beginning, and that's what, when you look back, and I was thinking about this earlier with the Mayan calendar, is, this was done, eons ago. And, they had these premonitions or whatever it was, as the cycles as they kept going, it just are kind of a natural just path of our planet, I think, aren't they? I don't know if they really, how accurate were they? That's what I want to know.
Well, this is the whole point. Some people say they were accurate. Other people think maybe they weren't so accurate. Like, I'm one that thinks they weren't so accurate. I don't even think that their technology was prevailing at that time, which makes now all the people in Belize and everywhere where the millions now are get angry with me. Don't get angry with me. Let's look at real history. Right. Before the Mayans, they were talking about this. When you go down in Angkor in Thorvat, when you go down to Tiwanaku, Shushawaman, they have things down there, calendars that show not only giants in the earth and not only predicting certain things to happen, but they're still there. Over in Cambodia, over in Laos and things, they have these big, gigantic, huge mountains and stuff hewn out with a human face, and you walk through it. Now, why don't they talk about it in most cases? Because they look like they were Olmecs. Have you seen the pictures of the Olmecs?
I don't think so.
Okay, they look Negroid. Consequently, if they look Negroid, they will not report them archaeologically. But when you go into the mountain, who hewed the mountain? Who made the mountain? You see what I'm saying?
Right.
This information and the kind of things that we're using as calendars were used centuries ago. But they're harping only one thing, and the thing that they're harping on is all being put negative.
Right.
This is what I'm saying. Let's look at both sides. Let's see what may be happening. Maybe by changing our consciousness and understanding what the planet is trying to tell us, we may avoid all of that. Where if we keep going to the doomsayers, we may get exactly what they're showing.
And that's what it is with the movie, and everybody else wants to. It's almost like, again, with the Bible and and their Armageddon and everyone else's predictions. It's almost like they want this to happen, and they want to make something, because if it's not, then that it kind of goes against their belief. And then look, every turn of the century, there's always some kind of whack guy who's got followers, and we're gonna die, so just come with me, we'll take our own lives.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen it even with comments and stuff like that. But it's people want this for some reason. I don't know, just to justify their own beliefs, or to, I don't know what it is. But I would like to see a positive turn on this. Like what we've been doing this for so long is this. We need a change. It's time for a change. I'm looking for that too, because of the way we're doing it. Like you said, the collective consciousness of who we are is turning into a very negative connotation that we have on ourselves and on the planet and life in general. It's just not, everything is just disease. The new H1N1 virus is, got to get this and do this, and it's putting everyone on such a negative balance that it's just, it's off teeter is what it is. But it's that they probably have a hard time becoming positive out of that.
Well, it's very interesting, Kevin, because if you also notice, there's a film out by Dr. Deagle. He's made a share, but he has brought out a lot of things about what is happening what is happening again with the H1N1 virus again. Some are saying that the swine flu thing never existed in the first place. That happened back in about 76 again. I think it was Gerald Ford became president, pardoned Nixon for Watergate. Then, because of many people were very didn't like that, they had to divert attention. There was a guy down in Fort Dix who was a soldier, died supposedly of having some pork or something they didn't even know. I guess the good press secretary said, look, let's see if we can capitalize on it. Let's get the diversion away from Watergate and something like this. So there you started with the swine flu. They don't even know what it was from. So if it wasn't real then, why is it real now? There are many people who don't want to get shots.
Right.
It should be some.
I don't.
I'm not getting my shot.
Because you're thinking. All right?
Yeah.
If you're thinking, you say, why should I put something in my body that has formaldehyde, thimerosal, mercury poison? What am I going to do with this? My immune system is so bad. I've been doing pretty well.
Right.
But now I got H1N1.
Yeah.
Maybe I can't do well anymore.
Right.
Maybe I'm going to get sick. Your thoughts start going down.
Right.
As your thoughts go, so are you. This is the whole point. We're trying to show, let's look at a thing from a different point of view. Why all this doom and gloom? You get out of Iraq, you go into Afghanistan. You get out, before that, you go into Vietnam. Easy ways to die. Young people, instead of dancing, instead of studying, instead of collecting, they're over killing each other. Now, that's sanity. So I'm simply saying, I think it's a time for consciousness to raise. I think what we're seeing is a choice. And if you keep stressing the bad choice, you're going to get the bad ending. To me, let's kind of look at other choices. Let's see if there's something being said here. If our planet is talking to us, if we're supposed to come back together as conscious beings, let's see if we can do it.
That's Dr. Delbert Blair. He's director again, the Meta Center in Chicago. He's in town for a workshop. And if you want to check it out, you can give a call to 602. And again, it's not just about 2012, but you are kind of preparing for that, because it was funny. There's I was watching the news earlier today, and they're teasing for a story tonight where this guy is hoarding gas masks and stuff like that, and whether if it does happen or not if it does happen, if it doesn't happen, he's going to try to make some money on this. He's going to try to exploit people's fears and say, hey, no gas masks at that store, but guess what I got them right here. But I don't know what the point is. If the world's going to end, what are you going to do with your money?
Yes, there you go.
Right?
There you go.
Exactly.
You can't take it with you. Although my great aunt might argue that one.
You said that, I didn't say that.
All right, well, I'll tell you what, let's play another song, and then we're going to come back with some more. We're going to talk not just the 2012, but we'll also talk about the diodes and some UFO stuff we're talking about. There's some pictures you showed me earlier that I got chills from looking at.
Let's go.
And it freaked me out. If you're driving with gas with me, my name is Kevin Gassman, but please call me Gas. We have Victoria.
Hello.
What's up? Hanging out with us. And our special guest in studio is Dr. Delbert Blair, and he is the director of the Meta Center in Chicago. What is the Meta Center?
Metaphysics Center is a place where you can go to study metaphysics. And metaphysics is a way of looking at things on a higher plane. And this is what I think we have to do. We got to get off all this low stuff, see if we can kind of expand our consciousness and keep time with the planet, and see if we can come together as a people, as a consciousness, and get a better world.
Nice. That's well. I'm all down for that. Now, does this have anything to do with the wormholes and what's that movie I saw, the Rabbit movie or something like that?
I don't know. You watch weird movies.
It's not rocket science, obviously, but it's
Alice in Wonderland.
No, man. What the bleep do we know? Yeah, what the bleep do we know? That's what. Thank you. The rabbit hole. But that kind of mentality. That what's that thinking? It's the science.
Even in the Matrix, you can take the red pill, you can take the blue pill.
Right.
Most people don't want either pills.
Right.
Okay. But pharmacists say you got to take one.
Right.
Okay.
Wow.
This is the whole point. When do you go to sleep? When do you wake up? This is the whole point.
Are you buying into the Matrix? Do you believe that?
I believe parts of it. I think, again, that just shows a machine takeover, and that's what's happening here. We're getting nanotechnology in place of microbiology. Technocrats building things on a small scale that are mechanical. Nature has produced things on a small scale that are micro. Now, which one is dangerous? You're going to put in a nanotechnology thing to correct a microbiology thing. Mm-hmm. Is that going to work? Or is that going to compound something again? They got so much research going on now. They got genetically modified everything. They've got mercury, fluoride, and chloride in the water. They've got chemtrails that you're breathing. What chance do we have to even understand who we are if we're constantly bombarded with things to stop us from thinking?
Right.
To stop us from, everybody's now worried about this, worried about that. This is why we're holding the workshop. Let's stop being led like sheep. And let's see if we can, instead of being sheeple, people that begin to think on their own. I think if we think on their own, we can get some help. I think the help that we're given, we don't need. So I don't want any more lies. I say let's stop being dissuaded and be persuaded to try and do something for self.
Well, you got to wonder who's going to be that person to pull the curtain away and to reveal the wizard. It's who is it? Who is that? That entity out there that's controlling. Is it one entity controlling it? Is it a mentality of all these countries that are doing this? I mean, in my opinion, I think it really is. It's a group of people that have just been fortunate enough to be in that situation to control the world, and they're doing it in the way that they feel that if we were given our liberties and freedoms to do what we want to do, they'll lose control and they won't have all the money that they have right now. It's just it's kind of a generic idea, I think. But
so then you think it's a money game? You mean money controls people? Money does something? Really? People sell souls for money?
Right, that and religion.
Of course.
It's
what profits is a man? What? To gain the whole world, lose his own soul. But then what is a soul?
Right.
People are selling their souls right and left. So what are they gaining? This is the whole point. If we don't begin to come into consciousness, if we don't begin to go within and stop lying to ourselves, once you lie to yourself, you can lie to anything and anybody. But as we begin to see choices being made, and this is what we're offering this weekend, who knows where we might get to? Who knows what we might avoid? And all these spectacles, all these spectaculars, and all these dynamic movies all show one thing: badness coming. They got this movie out now, The Men Who Stare at Goats.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I happened to get a hold of a copy of Spaznak. Spaznak is the KGB word for special forces, where they're actually putting chips into people to let the people do what you saw in the movie. They made it as a comedy. I think it's real. I think you have
Of
special
course.
genetically modified things. But why don't they tell people that? But why did they release the movie at all if it wasn't somebody somewhere saying, wake up,
right,
start to think.
Right.
For thinkers, it's a time of revealment. For dummies,
See, people see
Same place
movies
again.
like that and go, oh, it's just Hollywood. That'll never happen. But
Right.
if one person can think of it,
right.
so can someone in the government.
It is. It's a weird thing
It's
because
possible.
when you see those things, like the movie might even give another guy some genius an idea. Oh, I
Exactly.
like that idea. That's a
Yeah,
good idea.
exactly.
Or vice versa. It's the other way around.
Yeah.
Again, we got Dr. Delbert Blair, and he's hanging out with us here. We're talking just everything the world we don't
I know,
know.
I
It's
know,
really
I
kind of
know,
what it
I
comes down to. I want to ask you, Doctor, what was how'd you get involved in all this? What was your turning point?
oh, you don't want to go there.
Yeah, I do want to go there.
Now I really do.
You don't want to go there.
Well, first of all, I mean,
wow.
you've got a lot of knowledge, and I'm sure you're a nonstop reader. I'm sure you read a bunch.
I read a
And
lot.
What was the turning point in your life, or was there? Were you always into like this as a kid?
I don't want to go there. Okay, well, in 1960, and I'm going to date myself on this one, I met a man by the name of George Adamski. George Adamski came to a UFO conference. I read many books, and one book was called Flying Saucers Have Landed. expanded. I was intrigued by that because he got into deeper things that I had read before. I went down to a seminar, found out that he was going to speak on a weekend. I went on a Friday night. He was speaking on a Saturday night, and I was an undergrad student. I don't have much money now. I didn't have any money then, so I was all teed off about it. At any rate, I was very voracious and bold and everything else again. So he had a press conference that came in. He came in almost 12 o'clock that night as I was fixing to go. So I barged in onto the mezzanine where they're interviewing. His two bodyguards look at me and said, "He's toast." I said, "Oh, no, what have I done?" At any rate, this man set me aside, said I know him. He hadn't met me from Adam, anybody else. We wound up talking after the press release for 5 hours till the sun came up.
Wow.
He said, "Come back another day tomorrow." I said, "I don't have money." He said, "I'll put your name on the list. I want you to see something." At any rate, it led to a whole contact that I had with two people. They were both black because I was looking for a white guy to be the white guy there had to be a UFO expert. When I met these two men at the end of this conference again, they did things to me that I hadn't been able to have duplicated. They read my mind. They predicted the future by 18 minutes. I lost some time. I don't think anything happened to me again. And off of that, I also saw my first 3 UFOs that came over my house. Now, when you have that happen to you, and I'm not lying about any of it, Creator would strike me dead if that's the case, that changed my whole life. I wanted to read minds. I wanted to predict the future by 13 minutes. I wanted to have UFOs that could come over and fly over anybody's house that I wanted. But it let me know that there were things out here that they've been lying to us about. There are things out here that we should awaken to. And I guess I was supposed to be a messenger. Unfortunately, I was poisoned at another time. My wife was poisoned. My wife is now dead from the things that I did, and consequently, I'm now on a vendetta. Now I say tell the truth all the way around. So if what I went through wasn't worthy of something, then why did they have to parse me out for this? This is why I say it's a time for awakening. There's a lot going on. I think as one world, we are supposed to come together as one people. I think we've got an arch enemy, which may not be like us, and we're so busy fighting each other and fighting nations and government, we don't see what's really happening. So I think I was led. I think it was a tool, and I'm still going to be a good tool if I can. Now, they left me here for a purpose. I want to fulfill that purpose.
Right on. I mean,
see, I told you not to go there.
No, let's go. I love it. Right. This is good.
Wow.
Now, as far as I want to go back to that 18 minutes thing. They predicted into 18 minutes into your future.
Yeah.
And what I mean, how does that? I mean, like, how far can they really go? Then it's 18 minutes. What do they say? You're going to drive out of here and go home? I mean, like, what's? I'm sorry. I don't mean to be like that. But I'm just saying. What do they say to you? I've
been to so-called psychics. You know, I mean, I've been around all of them. I even had at McCormick Place, University of Chicago. Irene Hughes was a top person at that particular time. Our group had 3 halls in McCormick Place. I was blessed with brilliant people around me. But my point was, again, I still had somebody tell me what was going to happen. 18 minutes from them, read my mind, because I was very I said, I'm going to think this. This guy is too smart. I don't want to think this. He answered my thought. And I was so smooth, I said, wait a minute. I was in tears came in my eyes. I said, I didn't say that. I was thinking that. And then it hit me, fool, he had answered a couple of your things you said you didn't say. So I want to know who can do this. If he can do it, I want to do it. What school is going to teach me to predict time, to read minds, to have UFOs come over? That's where I want to be. That's the school. That's why I said I had to start my own. I had to get people who had gifts around, psychic gifts and all. They came together in the Meta Center, and we helped a lot of people, still trying. That's what we're trying to do this weekend. But those who are not dumbed down, comatose, brainwashed, inoculated, vaccinated, and encrypted, want to get more spiritual and understand it, this is where to come. Let's get together with people that are thinkers, not ones that are doing bad, but things that want things good to happen.
And that's going to go on this weekend. It's a workshop with Dr. Delbert Blair that they're going to be doing the workshop this weekend. So I want to keep going with this. I want to ask you a few questions too about other. Well, have you ever do you believe in past life regressions, where people lay down and they kind of go into their own self-conscious and do you believe in past lives?
Okay. I worked under a hypnotherapist at one time who joined our group. I've always been good at hypnotism. I was born with that. It was a gift. I didn't study that. It was a gift. And when people were getting into regressions, I actually, through I was able to regress people. What was very interesting when I regressed people, I found that when they jumped lives, they became, well, here's the one thing. I was hypnotizing white people, okay? I was hypnotizing black people. Under hypnosis, white people had black skins when they went back. Under hypnosis, black people had white skins as they went back. I freaked out because I said, they're lying to me. You know, you're hypnosis. You're supposed to say the right thing.
Right.
They didn't even think about color and skin. They were out there seeing what they saw. I had people who couldn't speak a foreign language, couldn't play a piano. I had a piano.
All under
hypnosis.
Right.
What it said to me is, who are we?
Right.
What are we? What is happening here? Is there such a thing as reincarnation? Are we here like in a zoo trying to see if we can graduate to higher consciousness, or are we going to be dummies and fall backward? It blew my mind because I was so prejudiced, I didn't know what to accept. Blew my mind. I said, well, this is ridiculous. Whatever you love or hate, you draw toward you. That means thoughts of things. Then all these holy books begin to make sense because now I'm looking at things honestly. I had to first go in me. What's wrong with me that I couldn't accept what the people were saying? Because I was pre-prejudiced. It blew my mind. I got real open. I accept anything now. At least I'll listen to it because my mind is no longer closed. But you have to go through these things. Guys go to war. They fight side by side against an enemy. The enemy sometimes is, you're the enemy to them, they're the enemy to you. But who's dying? Young, virile people. Old people with money, they ain't dying. All right? This is what I'm saying again. We got to wake up. And I think this is a time for it. And I'm grateful for people like you and shows like yours that these people can come together and see if we can do something to avert the catastrophes of 2012 and make it a beginning, not an end.
Dr. Delbert Blair hanging out with us here. And I got a question, too, about other prophets, I guess you can say. Nostradamus, another one, predicted a lot of stuff, but a lot of the stuff hasn't really come true. Only the stuff that I think that he written. I don't know if I'm sure you're familiar with Nostradamus and some of the stuff he's done. Yeah. But as far as like the stuff he wrote was written, I think more for the times that he lived in. He had to write it in kind of in disguise, in a sense.
The quatrains.
Yeah, the quatrains. Because he wouldn't. Because otherwise, if he got caught talking about the king and queen, he'd been killed.
There you go.
So I mean, does that kind of go back even to the Mayans? Or the Mayans don't really have anybody. They were their own civilization, so they have nobody, I guess, to go against, right?
Well, not only can you look at Edgar Cayce and so like that, again, there's a guy by the name of Apollonius of Tyana that wrote many quatrains and stuff. In fact, many of the people there in the East have worshipped him. People who are Buddhist, again, have people who was called Buddha. Krishna, supposedly there was a person that walked the earth there at that time for those in India that also gave prophecies again. Prophecies are nothing that is new. There's always, for every person and for every people, there's always somebody to come through that says something that wakes you up. It's as though they were gifted. But the gift is to hear those people, understand those people, and see the message that they're bringing. So Nostradamus voted for his time. There's always somebody. There's a guy by the name of Simeon Toko. From Angola. Many of the people, there were some mercenaries that tried to take him out for certain reasons, again, because he was like a prophet. But over in Europe, they talked about it. In Africa, they talked about it. In the United States, we never even heard of Simeon Toko. So I say there's always, what's the other guy that's, the Edgar Cayce ARE Society. He did a lot of readings again.
I saw a whole show on that the other day. It was interesting.
And he healed people. Yeah. Again. He just could expand his consciousness.
He killed himself. They killed him doing this.
Because he was helping so many people.
Right.
So I say it's always a gift given, but how many people are ready for the gift?
Right.
How many people want to get to the gifters because they have closed minds, and how many people could really be helped if those gifters were protected and helped? We're always giving keys to the kingdom, but sometimes the kingdom is nigh.
So, as far as what you can tell people listening right now, what can someone do that, I mean, is obviously educate themselves on these subjects and get to know what's going on and not be so blindsided, not wear the blinders on and what have you. But, I mean, what would you recommend someone they do?
Well, first of all, I have a lot of tapes. I got 135 tapes, some of them still in what they want to call cassettes going to CDs, so I can use some help, folks, on that one. Right. I have a website. They can go up there and scroll through, pick the ones that they want. It's www.themetacenter.com. They have to type in THE first, metacenter.com. I've studied, I have over 135 tapes on these particular subjects, and tonight and this weekend, we're going to be talking about some of these things. This is the whole point. Let's get people to wake up. Let's get people to stop dying in vain and getting sick for nothing and getting all scared of everything else where we're bringing in horrible things. Let's see if we can start bringing some good things again. People that have consciousness, stop following the leader. Lead by following. Follow the things that are good and not the things that are just laid before your table. They won't eat it. They won't get shots. Who are these nebulous they? The same ones that are telling you to take it. Right. Let's become not nebulous, but one whole thing and see what we can do to avert all of this. This is why we have the workshops and the lectures today. This week. weekend. And again, as I say, if they want to go to the website, they can scroll through some of the things we say on a regular basis, because I look for solutions to problems. The problems are manifold, but there are some things that already have solutions for it.
Dr. Delbert Blair, you can check out his website too. Just Google his name. You're going to find a bunch of really cool stuff that you're into. That's what I was watching it. Like you said, the UFOs you're into, the diodes we want to talk about, and you gave us a diode here, and it's a cell phone diode. Mm-hmm. And I'm curious about this. I think I might have heard about this maybe a few years ago. I'm not quite sure, but it doesn't seem extremely new to me. And I'm just trying to rack my brain of if I remember something like this, but I don't know. What is this? How long has it been in the
company's been existed 19 and a half years.
Okay.
I've been with them 19.
Wow.
Because I had choices. And theirs was the only one that offered so much because of the things that they were saying, the things that they did. And I said, hey, now they have this newest one out, this one I think I just gave you. This is the old cell phone diode. It's no longer proficient. When you guys start getting these now, these G6s, G4s,
what do you want,
you
this
get
one?
these iPods.
This is the new one.
Yeah, that's the new one. This is the old one. You see the difference in size?
Yeah, small.
Because
small.
for when you start getting these BlackBerries and stuff like this, that will no longer do it, because now what are people doing? They're texting on it. Mm-hmm. They're playing games on it. They're looking at from the satellite view of a home somewhere in Europe or in Africa or something from it again. They're doing things. All that is it means you're contacting a satellite and you're holding in your hand something that is killing you. Mm-hmm. Something that can be very harmful. First of all, you can't turn these things off. Okay? The only way you turn off a cell phone is to take out the battery in the back. How many people do that every time they use it? No. Otherwise, it's always radiating you. When you get groups of people in churches, in movies, in symphonies, in concerts, in rock fests, they're all killing each other because they all have a unified thing, a device that's radiating you. We found out that by using a diode, you can correct that. The extra low frequencies, I have a tape out called elves, not elves, are killing you. People are worried about elves and trolls and goblins. The elf waves, extra low frequency, are the ones that are doing you the harm. Messing with the central nervous system, put the Bluetooth in the ear, mess with the tympanic membrane, optic thalamus nerve. But by using a diode on these things, you stop all of that from happening. Here is a solution. Many people don't even realize they got a problem, and they're using these cell phones every day.
Right.
How many people use a computer and laptops?
As he stares at mine.
That always have a diode on the back of them by the port, right?
Okay.
No, they don't.
Right.
Because they don't know.
Right.
Why don't they know? Because they're not getting on the air telling you every time you use a cell phone, you may be killing yourself. Every time that you're using a microwave other to cook your food with a klystron tube, you might be drinking hot poison and radiation. Why would they tell you that? Because you might sue them. But I'm saying use these devices. But if you're going to ride the dragon, put a saddle on it. If you're going to do something bad, then understand how to harness it.
Right.
We have diodes, 15 different kinds to adapt to all these extra low frequencies. Even on circuit breakers, you can put a diode on that. Every outlet runs to an outlet in your home. It goes to a higher vibration. It's not any longer killing you. So that's what I'm saying. The solutions are out here.
Right.
It's only on shows like this. Only when people wake up do you search for the truth to find out. Use the beast, but don't let the beast use you.
Now, as far as the cell phones go, like we are at a concert, we're at a church phone, wherever we're at with a bunch of people. Her phone is not going to hurt me, is it? Or only my phone will, right? I mean, or
yeah.
Or am I buying diodes for everyone that lives around me?
At a concert, unless it's out in the park somewhere and you're still huddled together, sitting in lotus position or whatever like that. Otherwise, you're sitting in a row of seats. Almost everybody in that row has got a cell phone in their pocket.
Right, sure.
You're radiating each other. Plus, you're looking at a projector on a screen with audio amplification, and that same system is going to audio the amplitude in your Bluetooth and stuff like this. You're in a car. Think about this one. I like to freak people out with this one. You turn on the ignition in the car. It kicks in the alternator. I got an alternating current a little bit that's going through a stress-welded frame, because they tell you now everything must be stress-welded, not rivets, but welds, okay? Which means the seat that you're sitting on where your sex organ is now getting radiated. Now you're getting guys with prostate trouble. You're getting women, again, with dried out everything. Why? But they don't tell you that you might be able to get energy coming up through that seat that's killing you. But what have you done? Now, if you turn on the AM, FM radio, it tells you what you did. When you go by a tower or a car comes by, you hear static. What meant? You just got radiated. After 6 months' time, your whole metal frame is a Faraday cage, and you're getting into radiation state. Now you wonder why you're getting sick.
It's like activated. Your car's activated.
There you go.
Right.
Everything we're using, it seems to me that by accident, something would be right, unless there's a force somewhere that's making everything wrong. And now it's time to wake up to that wrong and make it right.
We're going to take a break. Can you hang out for a little bit more longer? longer, or we're going to hit the top of the hour?
Hey, if your audience can take it, wonderful.
I can take it too. You're driving with Gas. My name is Kevin Gassman, but please call me Gas. It's all good. We have Victoria hanging out with us, riding shotgun, and our special guest is Dr. Delbert Blair, and he is the director of the Meta Center out in Chicago, with locations out at in Oaklawn and also at the University of Chicago. And he was brought into town by Merkaba Nation. He's in town this week. We're talking, and he's talking about 2012 and the UFOs. We just talked diodes earlier, and you gave me a news bulletin or a news story about out of Russia, which I thought was a little fascinating, about the HAARP program, which is under the High Frequency Active Aerial Research Program is what it is. And describe what that is, because people in Russia aren't too happy about what's going on out there. They're seeing some things that we're doing, and if you could explain a little further about that.
Well, HAARP, High Frequency Active Aurora Research Program, was up in Gakona, Alaska. I say was up there again because it's been sold to the British now. Built with United States taxpayer money, now sold to the British. However, this particular unit had military applications. They first said they wanted to build it so that when they launched the space shuttles and things like this, they didn't have to use up too much fossil fuel to get out into outer space. So they were going to broadcast electrical units of energy up into the atmosphere. This would cut a hole into the atmosphere and stop the payload from having to be so great to get them out there. So once they got out there again, then they could use the free space or something for that. Really what they wanted to do in the first place, obviously, was to communicate over the horizon with troops, communicate with submarines over the horizon, even though it's in the ocean. And secondly, to be able to look down into the earth. By broadcasting that kind of billions of watts of energy, you could look down, you could find gold, you could find underground installations, you could find anything you want to. But more than that, they wound up using it for weather modification. They coupled it with the so-called chemtrails, and this is one of the reasons for the chem biotrails, because sometimes there are biologicals in those chemicals, sometimes there are chemicals with it. With that in mind, they now could begin to produce scalar technology. Here's how this works. They use, by weather modification, spraying these things we talked about before, chemtrails, but they contain titanium, barium, and aluminum. These are precious metals, but these are metals that you can bounce signals off of. That way now, when you couple that with HAARP, you can begin to produce weather. You're now getting, as we said off the air again, you're now getting weather you're getting lightning and thunder, but no but no thunder. Lightning, but no thunder. Whoever heard of running a moisture-ridden cloud without using thunder? So now you're getting scalar technology. What has happened now is all these countries now have it. Russia has ELATA, electrified, because I looked for it in Russian. I didn't understand Russian, but it's electrification of the atmosphere is what it boils down to. Europe has ISACAT, the European Incoherent Scattered Radar Sites again. We have over here HAARP. There's also, they also now have the relativistic ion collider. They got the CERN thing that they're putting on. Isn't it interesting that the same modular lineage, or the same vector that CERN is on, there are 5 volcanoes, and all of them now are active since they turned on CERN. The first time they turned on CERN last November, they said, now this is what the scuttlebutt has, the internet has, and other places, that one of those particles went through the shield and went into the earth. After that, you start getting a lot of earthquakes and stuff. So what I'm saying is, here is technology that instead of being used for good is now used for weather modification. So now you may have a battle for who's going to control the weather. This weather is crazy. If you see what's happening on what happened before, something is wrong with the weather. I think if you got everybody modifying it, and if you got Russia not reporting to the United States and Europe not reporting to either one, and each one using these weather modifying devices, you got a problem. So I think, again, this is another thing. One of the many gadgets that they use that are going, instead of being used to make weather where, water, where there's drought or something like this, they just use it for weather control. There's also this report. Now, again, I saw this on the internet only, that one of the reasons that Katrina hit and wiped out New Orleans, it came off the Gulf, but if it went toward, there was another place, someplace in Alabama where they got this special research area, it could have destroyed it, so they diverted it. Now, if you can divert hurricanes, you can do anything. Right. If you can modify weather, you can control people, because you can get into the futures market, you can stop crops from growing, or you can make growing. I'm just simply saying, why is it that we're being exposed to all this information, but it's always used for bad? Right. Why can't we ever use it for good? Because the people don't understand it. The military gets it, and the only thing they want to do is start wars and fight and kill. So again, it's time to wake up.
Now, we talked last hour about how you got your start in all this. What was the point in your life where you started seeing some of this going around you that was, you started shaking your head going, this doesn't make any sense. This isn't adding up. Was there a moment like that, or when you started seeing all the bad things, you know?
Well, I was born with that. I think I was born, they said I was born psychic. I don't know. I know I used to sit in my high chair. I remember when I was 1.5 years old, sitting in a high chair. I see clouds in the room, and I talk to the people in the clouds. Well, I found out that 2-year-olds don't see clouds in rooms, and you definitely don't talk to anybody, or you're going to get in deep trouble, you know? But it took away what I was seeing. I was not old enough or dumbed down enough to not know what I was seeing. So then I found out I couldn't see it. So then when I would see it, I got nervous. The fear syndrome, like you just talked about before. Because I knew I wanted to get questions answered. Instead of my parents answering questions, boy, I don't see that. You don't see that, you know. So it takes away this. We have psychics that are being born. We have children born now. I call them crystals. They're open. They're born with their neck erect, eyes open. They're talking to the mother in the womb and communicating. Well, what are they doing now? They're giving them 7 shots, first 3 days in the hospital, including a hepatitis C shot. Why would you give a newborn baby hepatitis C, which is for heterosexuals or homosexuals or promiscuous? You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Why do they give them all these shots? But once they do that, they start using their psychic power. They start losing their ability to understand and reach the Creator from a higher point of view. It's purposeful. So I'm just simply saying we're at a time where we're at a crossroads. 2012, if we can get through to that, I think we'll come into higher consciousness. We'll get off this yoke of dumbness that's been placed on us. People are, these souls here now, like yourself and all, we want to know. But they put every barrier they can. We've got to loose the barriers and get into the consciousness. They always say again, you say, look for the light at the end of the tunnel. When you know you're coming into the tunnel, bring your own daggone light. And light up everywhere you go. I'm trying to light up. You're trying to light up. If we got enough light up, we have light.
Aren't we also running into the end of the age of Pisces, too, at 2012, right? And I think is either Aquarius is coming next, or is it we're in Aquarius right now? Pisces is coming up? Is that what it is? So I got it backwards there.
Pisces was for the faithists. Those who follow by faith. Aquarian is for the expanded consciousness. Remember the fifth dimension? They made Surrey and a couple others, but what they do, when the moon has reached the 7th house and Jupiter aligns with Mars and peace will come to our planet, the age of Aquarius, we're already in it. And it's time for those to expand consciousness to begin to get into the mental thing. You know, people see that water barrier, they think it's water triplicity. It's not. It's pouring out of knowledge and wisdom that souls are supposed to get. And now is the time to start getting it.
I thought you were going to sing a song for us.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
The 5th dimension, right?
Yeah.
It's 6:26, and you're driving with gas right here on the East Valley's Modern Rock, KWSS 106.7 FM. We have Dr. Delbert Blair. He is the director of Meta Center in Chicago. He is in town this weekend for a special workshop on all the things we're talking about today, the UFOs and diodes and the 2012 and the mysticism that's involved with that. And, you know, with like you said, it's, you know, the Mayans, you know, obviously their calendar ends on 2012, but it just means it cycles over again. At least that's the way I'm interpreting it, and I'm sure a lot of people might be seeing that way. Some people might not be. Like I said earlier, a lot of people want the end of the world to happen. You know, they want this to happen. For some reason, I don't know why. They want to go to their next level, I guess, and, you know, however way they choose to do it. But I you know, talking with you this last hour and a half, and it's been enlightening. You know, having, you know, knowing that the knowledge that you have is really kind of makes you feel like, yeah, there are things we can do out there, and not just that, but like the 2012 not just is the destruction of the world as the movie shows, but it's going to be like you said, an awakening for everyone. And I almost feel it a little bit. I feel a little bit now. It's kind of weird. Is that? I mean, in the last, this has been a really weird year for, at least for me and all our friends, all my friends. We're all going through this transition right now, and I don't know if we're sharing it with you guys. Everyone's shaking their heads too. Is everyone kind of going through a transition at this point in life? I mean,
we're expanding consciousness. They don't want you to expand consciousness. Who are they? Those who have made this planet dumbed down, comatose, brainwashed, inoculated, vaccinated, and encrypted. And the denizens is on it. Instead of citizens of the planet and citizens of the world, we become unified under one government. And all the governments do the same thing. Make wars, overtax, overspend, bail out people who already stole your money and never get it to you. This is the whole point. It's time to expand the consciousness. If you expand consciousness, you'll be with the planet as she expands. I don't think you have to worry about any any of that. But if you're going against a planet, and I like to refer to us as nothing but mitochondria, and a little cell of consciousness is about to go into a higher part of the Creator's mind. If we can do that, then we can expand consciousness. We can get rid of all this. We will have learned our lessons, and maybe the next time we incarnate, we'll do it on a planet where we can do something beneficial. Those who will be dumbed down and comatose, those who will awaken, it's a matter of choice. You are what you eat, drink, and think.
What do you think has been the catalyst to this? Do you think the internet's been kind of helping us, or is there something else out there that's giving us this?
The internet is a beautiful boon. It's a thing that's so wonderful. Other than that, people would never be able. You can talk to a person in Europe. You can talk to a person in Asia. You can talk to a person inside the earth if they're there. You can communicate. And this is the whole point. This is why they want to try and curtail that now.
Right.
Everything that is good, they try to curtail. Why? Because knowledge can bring wisdom, and wisdom can bring power and release from those who have been subjugating all of us on this planet. I think the planet is on the ascension rise, and I want to be one of them.
Right on. I like that. It's a great mentality to have, and it's it kind of gives people a little more light in their eyes, I guess you can say. For this feeling that everyone has that the 2012 is coming. That's never going to stop. That's always on its way. Hitting the 3-year mark. We're coming up.
And after 2012, when nothing happens, they're going to pick 2025 or something.
Either way, there's always going to be something like that, right? There's always going to be the end of the world scenario.
Of course.
And everyone's predicted it, but no one's ever really predicted the Earth was going to blow up, as far as as far as that goes. But there's always it was just the end of this, and it was the beginning of something else.
There we go. And that's the hope. It's the end of ignorance and fear and things that are backward, and expanding the consciousness toward greater light. This is what I feel it is.
And I want to mention this acronym. It's the word fear, and you got to tell me what it is again. It's false evidence appearing real. False evidence appearing real, and which basically is all about 9/11. But
part of the
we can get into that another time, I guess, right?
Part of the Merkaba Nation, who's the one that vote me in.
Merkaba Nation, who's hanging out with us here as well, and you can check out Dr. Blair's his workshop this weekend. It is at an undisclosed place, and you can email him, say you're interested and want to show up and check it out. Well, you can. I know you said you wanted to say something before.
Are we about to conclude?
I'll conclude. We got a half an hour left of the show, and we're going to lighten it up towards the end of the show.
All right, hey, I heard lighten up a little bit on the people. Don't blame me again. Okay, I have this one again. Matter is merely energy condensed to a slow vibration. We're all one consciousness experiencing itself multidimensionally. There's no such thing as death. Life is just a dream, and we are the subjective imagination of ourselves. And if you allow your dream to become a nightmare, please wake up. Please join us tonight.
That's awesome.
Wow.
Dr. Blair, thank you so much.
More than welcome. Thank you again, kid.
Nice, thank you. All right, we'll step aside, and then we'll come back, and we'll wrap up the show here with Victoria and I, and start a little lighter side of it. I hate to see. I feel guilty now talking about anything else but some serious stuff.
I know. That's all good.
Like, well, we'll have to light it up. It's Friday night. High Fidelity Fridays this tonight. We'll talk about that when we come back. That's KWSS, and we'll end out on some Cypress Hill here. It's insane in the membrane. What a better way to finish off this segment here. We'll be back to this. And that's what I sounded like on the radio in 2009. And it's always interesting to listen to yourself. And you got to get used to it being in radio, obviously. But when you're in 2009 and it's today, I've changed so much on the radio that I'm like, wow, slow down, man. You're spazzing. You're talking fast. You sound anxious. But I was a little nervous. I'm not going to lie. I mean, I didn't know who Dr. Delbert Blair was. Talking about being clandestine with his message kind of raises the stakes a little bit, if you know what I mean. So, I'm just a radio DJ in Phoenix, Arizona. That's all I did. But I had these conversations with different people all the time that I opened myself up to these interesting ways of thinking. And I loved it. And I'm glad I found my interview from 2009 on my computer. And then I went and looked up Dr. Delbert Blair. He passed away on January 31st, 2016, so a little more than 5 years ago. And I didn't realize back then how important he was, until now. I'm thinking, wow, I'm so glad I had a chance to get this on tape. Now I get to share his message on the Mothership Radio Show on podcast. So if you guys are listening and you know people who are interested in this, please share it around. I think it's important to hear his word because he knows a lot. Well, he knew a lot, I guess you could say. But other than that, I do appreciate you guys tuning in. I know there aren't as many shows as I would like. We're not on a weekly basis anymore. The shows are more sporadic. There's a reason for that, which I'm not going to get into. But for the most part, when people reach out to me and want to tell their story, boom, there's a show. And that's kind of how I've been operating. So if anybody out there has a story they want to talk about, feel free to contact me at the Mothership Radio Show at gmail.com, or go to my website, the Mothership Radio Show. You can go to my radio station, drivingwithgas.com, and listen to some music. I play music. It's my personal collection that I put on the radio, that I put online, and I call it feel-good music. It's classic hits from the rock and roll and alternative genres from the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, and sometimes the 2000s. And if you want to know what I listen to and what I like, that's where you can find it at drivingwithgas.com. That was the name of my radio show, and now it's the name of my radio station online, powered by Live 365, found at drivingwithgas.com. So I just feel like nowadays, it's a tough society to live in, and we're locked down, people are losing jobs, the future's uncertain, so it kind of makes you feel a little, maybe a little anxious. And I like to, listen to music to calm myself down. So I call it feel-good music. It's comfort music and songs you know and love. But it might be some songs that, you might not have heard in a long time. So I do have some deep cuts in there. I play a long song every hour. Every hour I play one long song. How long is that song? It's at least over 6 minutes and 30 seconds long. So every hour from rock and roll and alternative music, I play a long song. I also have comedy in there to lighten it up a little bit. And I just wanted to share what I listen to, and maybe you guys dig it. If not, whatever. But at least check it out if you listen to online radio. It's at drivingwithgas.com. And that's where I'll be airing and doing my interviews live on. And then I'm going to podcast it later on, like this is podcasted. So tune in to drivingwithgas.com, or follow me on Facebook or Instagram. I'm not on Twitter. And that's where I'll post my future shows when they come about. And that way you can follow and listen in when they are produced. All right, other than that, I do appreciate you guys tuning in. I really do, and it means a lot to know that people are tuning in and listening to this, because I feel the messages is important to share, and that's what this show is really all about, is people telling the stories and maybe relating to other people listening in, and they make them feel like they're not alone in this world. That's kind of how I want to approach this show. It's not about me, it's about you guys and your story and other people's stories, and well, you can buy them or not. That's up to you. I'm just giving it out there. I'm like, I hate to say I'm like Fox News. I report, you decide. I don't know about that, but I do put it out there, and you guys decide if it's real or not. Maybe it's real, or maybe it's make-believe. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. You've been listening to the Mothership Radio Show podcast on all platforms, online at themothershipradioshow.com. And other than that, until the next episode, my name is Kevin Gassman, reminding you to stay strange and unusual.
Thank you, and keep watching the sky.
Oh, wow. What? What was that, man? What the hell was that, man? Huh? No, man, hey, man, wow, I was watching this object, man, like the satellite that we saw the other night, right? And like it was just going right across the sky, man, and then, it just suddenly, it just changed direction and went whizzing right off, man. It flashed.
You're stoned out of your mind, man.
Oh, yeah, man, hey, I'm stoned, man? But I saw a satellite, man, and it was going across the sky, and it flashed 3 times at me and zigzagged and whizzed off, man. And I saw it.
That was a UFO beaming back at you. Me and Eric Heisman was down in Mexico 2 weeks ago. We seen 40 of them flying in formation. They have got bases all over the world now, They've been coming here ever since 1946, when the scientists first started bouncing radar beams off of the moon. And they have been living and working among us in vast quantities ever since. The government knows all about them.
What are you talking, man?
Well, you just seen one of them, didn't you?
Hey, man, I saw something, man, but I didn't see it working here. You know what I mean?
Well, they are people just like us from within our own solar system, except that their society is more highly evolved. I mean, they don't have no wars, they got no monetary system, they don't have any leaders, because, I mean, each man is a leader. I mean, each man, because of their technology, they are able to feed, clothe, house, and transport themselves equally and with no effort.
Wow. Well, you know something, man? I think, you wanna know what I think? I think this is a crackpot idea. That's what I think. How about that? How about a little of that? Think it's a crackpot idea. I mean, if they're so smart, why don't they just reveal themselves to us, huh, and get it over with?
Why don't they reveal themselves to us is because if they did, it would cause a general panic. Now, I mean, we still have leaders upon whom we rely for the release of this information. These leaders have decided to repress this information because of the tremendous shock that it would cause to our antiquated systems. Now, the result of this has been that the Venusians have contacted people at all walks of life. All walks of life.
Yes.
It would be a devastating blow to our antiquated systems. So now Venusians are meeting with people in all walks of life in an advisory capacity. For once, man will have a godlike control over his own destiny. He will have a chance to transcend and to evolve with some equality for all.
How's your joint, George?
Check, please.